A simple sweeper boy grumbles to his friend that he hasn't received his salary. By the next morning, that simple statement has caused an uprising in his small little town and unleashed chaos and destruction that has never been seen there before. Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we are discussing a short story called The Boy Who Broke the Bank by the author Ruskin Bond. Ruskin Bond is a famous author and poet who has written hundreds of stories, poems, and novels. He is also the winner of multiple prestigious awards for literature. He writes mainly about small town life and the beauty of nature. This story is also about a young boy whose job is to sweep the steps of the bank. We will see how he broke the bank, not in the literal sense, but what role he played unknowingly in the physical and financial destruction of it. Let's begin. Nathu grumbled to himself as he swept the steps of the People Nagar Bank owned by Seth Govind Rao. So, in the first sentence itself, we see three things. The first is that Nathu grumbled to himself because he was upset about something. Second, that despite being upset, he was still doing his job. And third is that we learn that the owner of the People Nagar Bank is a man called Seth Govind Ram. He used the small broom hurriedly and carelessly, and the dust, after rising in a cloud above his head, settled down again on the steps. As Nathu was banging his pan against a dustbin, Sitaram, the washerman's son, passed by. So Nathu is doing his job, but he is doing it without any interest. He is sweeping fast and carelessly, half-heartedly. Instead of carefully sweeping the dust away from the stairs, it is gathering in a cloud and settling back on the stairs, meaning that the stairs are not actually being cleaned properly. Then he bangs his dustpan against the dustbin. All these actions show his irritation and how grudgingly he is doing his job. Just then, Sitaram, the washerman's son, passed by the bank. Sitaram was on his delivery round. He had a bundle of freshly pressed clothes balanced on his head. So Sitaram was carrying a huge bundle of pressed or ironed clothes on his head and was going from house to house delivering the clothes to their respective owners. Don't raise such dust, he called out to Nathu. Are you annoyed because they are still refusing to pay you an extra 2 rupees a month? He called out to Nathu to stop raising so much dust because the clothes he was carrying would get dirty. Then he asks him whether he was annoyed because his employer had refused to pay him an extra 2 rupees a month. Now, since they're friends, Nathu may have already discussed this matter with him, which is how he knows, right? Nathu has probably asked for an increment of 2 rupees in his monthly salary, which Sitaram is now assuming that his employer has refused to pay, and that has upset Nathu. I don't wish to talk about it, complained the sweeper boy. I haven't even received my regular pay, and this is the 20th of the month. Who would think a bank would hold up a poor man's salary? As soon as I get my money, I'm off. Not another week I work in this place. So now Nathu tells Sitaram that he doesn't want to talk about it because he was irritated, as we've already seen. But then immediately he starts to talk about it, telling his friend that not only has he not received an increment, but he's not even received his regular monthly pay, despite it being the 20th of the month. Being a bank that deals with money, they should be very prompt in paying a poor man's salary, but that was not the case. Fed up with this, he has decided that as soon as he gets paid his pending dues, he will not work for another single week in this bank and he will quit immediately. And Nathu banged the pan against the dustbin several times just to emphasize his point and give himself confidence. So then Nathu banged the pan against the dustbin to show that he really means what he was saying and to give himself confidence that he was going to carry out his plan as soon as he received his pending dues. Well, I wish you luck, said Sitaram. I'll keep a lookout for any jobs that might suit you. And he plodded barefoot along the road, the big bundle of clothes hiding most of his head and shoulders. So Sitaram wished him all the best and tells him that he would look around for any available jobs that were suitable for Nathu. And with this reassurance to help him, he continues walking with his bundle of clothes along the road, carrying a bundle so huge that it covers his entire head and his shoulders. At the fourth home he visited, Sitaram heard the lady of the house mention that she was in need of a sweeper. So he goes from house to house delivering the clothes, and when he reaches the fourth house, he hears the lady of the house mention that she was looking for a sweeper to work for her. Tying his bundle together, he said, I know of a sweeper boy who's looking for work. He can start from next month. He's with the bank just now, but they aren't giving him his pay and he wants to leave. Is that so? Said Mrs. Srivastav. Well, tell him to come and see me tomorrow. So while tying his bundle after delivering the lady's clothes, he mentions to her that he knows a boy who's looking for work and can start from the next month because he was presently working with the bank, but since they weren't paying his salary, he was unhappy and he wanted to leave that job. The lady, Mrs. Srivastav, seems a bit surprised and she instructs Sitaram to tell the boy to meet her the next day to discuss the job with him. And Sitaram, glad that he had been of service to both a customer and his friend, hoisted his bag on his shoulders and went away. Mrs. Srivastav had to do some shopping. So Sitaram was pleased that he was helping two people, the lady to find a sweeper and his friend to get a job. Then he put his bundle on his shoulders and he left while Mrs. Srivastav decided to go to the market to do some shopping. She gave instructions to the ayah about looking after the baby and told the cook not to be late with the midday meal. Then she set out for the People Nagar marketplace to make her customary tour of the cloth shops. So she gave instructions to the nanny about taking care of her baby and instructed the cook to have lunch ready on time. Then she left for the marketplace to visit the cloth shops, which she did often. We can see from this paragraph that she has helpers, she is not burdened by much work or responsibilities, and so she has some leisure time to visit the market and to do things that interest her. A large shady tamarind tree grew at one end of the bazaar, and it was here that Mrs. Srivastav found her friend Mrs. Bhushan sheltering from the heat. Mrs. Bhushan was fanning herself with a large handkerchief. She complained of the summer, which she affirmed was definitely the hottest in the history of People Nagar. So at one end of the marketplace, there was a large shady tamarind tree with a seating area under it. Mrs. Srivastav's friend, Mrs. Bhushan, was sitting under the shade of this tree and fanning herself with a handkerchief. She was complaining about the heat and saying that perhaps it was the hottest summer that People Nagar had ever experienced. She then showed Mrs. Srivastav a sample of the cloth she was going to buy, and for 5 minutes they discussed its shade, texture, and design. So Mrs. Bhushan showed her friend a sample of a piece of cloth that she was planning to buy, and they sat and discussed its shade, texture, and design for the next 5 minutes. So by the topics they are discussing, you can see how much time and leisure these ladies have. Having exhausted this topic, Mrs. Srivastav said, do you know, my dear, that Seth Govindram's bank can't even pay its employees? Only this morning I heard a complaint from their sweeper who hasn't received his wages for over a month. So once they had finished their discussion about the weather and the cloth and everything, Mrs. Srivastav asks her friend whether she's aware that Seth Govindram's bank was unable to pay its employees and that only that morning she had heard a complaint from their sweeper that he hadn't received his salary for over a month. There are two problems with this statement. The first is that she has only heard about Nathu not getting paid, but she makes it seem like the bank was not paying any of its employees. And the second problem is that she had not heard a complaint from the sweeper herself. She had heard this bit of news from Sitaram, but she is now making it seem that Nathu has told her himself. Shocking, remarked Mrs. Bhushan. If they can't pay the sweeper, they must be in a bad way. None of the others could be getting paid either. Mrs. Bhushan remarks that the news is shocking and says that if they can't even afford to pay the sweeper's wages, which must be a small sum, then they must be in a very poor financial condition. And if that were the case, that would mean that none of the other employees would be getting paid either. She left Mrs. Srivastav at the tamarind tree and went in search of her husband, who was sitting in front of Kamal Kishore's photography shop, talking with the owner. So there you are, cried Mrs. Bhushan. I've been looking for you for almost an hour. Where did you disappear? So Mrs. Bhushan, having collected this little tidbit of information, she leaves her friend sitting under the tree and goes in search of her husband. He was sitting in front of a photography studio owned by a man named Kamal Kishore, talking to him. Here again, Ruskin Bond is painting us a picture of a typical small town life. People are not in a hurry, there are occasional customers in shops, and people have time to sit and chat with each other. Mrs. Bhushan spots her husband. She tells him that she has been looking for him for almost an hour and asks him where he had disappeared to. So you can see the exaggeration here. It's a small town with an even smaller bazaar, and it would take her perhaps less than 10 minutes to locate her husband. But she tells him that she has been searching for him for 1 hour. She's perhaps trying to make him feel a bit guilty that she has had to search for him for so long in such terrible heat. Nowhere, replied Mr. Bhushan. Had you remained stationary in one shop, I might have found you. But you go from one shop to another like a bee in a flower garden. But Mr. Bhushan is quite smart as well. He turns the blame back on his wife and tells her that he had been sitting there the whole time. And if she hadn't been going from shop to shop like a bee going from flower to flower, he would have been able to find her earlier. Don't start grumbling. The heat is trying enough. I don't know what's happening to People Nagar. Even the bank's about to go bankrupt. What's that? Said Kamal Kishore, sitting up suddenly. So now Mrs. Bhushan is caught in her own game. She tells her husband to stop grumbling when it was in fact she who had started the conversation by grumbling. She's trying to divert attention from this fact and says that it's already so hot and she was so upset by what was going on in People Nagar and that the bank's about to go bankrupt. All this was upsetting enough, so her husband shouldn't grumble. The mention of the bank catches Kamal Kishore's attention and he perks up suddenly to ask her what she had just said. Which bank? Why, the People Nagar Bank, of course. I hear they have stopped paying employees. Don't tell me that you have an account there, Mr. Kishore. So Mr. Kishore asks her which bank she is talking about. She replies that she is obviously talking about the People Nagar Bank because perhaps that was the most prominent bank in their small town. She says that she has heard that they have stopped paying their employees and then she asks him whether he has an account there. No, but my neighbor has, he exclaimed, and he called out over the low partition to the keeper of the barber shop next door. Deepchand, have you heard the latest? The People Nagar Bank is about to collapse. You'd better get your money out as soon as you can. So even though Kamal Kishore says that he doesn't have an account, but his neighbor does, and he calls out over the partition that separates both their shops and asks the owner of the shop, a barber called Deep Chand, whether he had heard the latest news that the People Nagar Bank was about to go bankrupt and advises him to go there and get his money out as soon as possible. Deep Chand, who was cutting the hair of an elderly gentleman, was so startled that his hand shook and he nicked his customer's right ear. The customer yelped with pain and distress, pain because of the cut and distress because of the awful news he had just heard. So when Deepchand heard the news about the bank shutting down, he was cutting the hair of an elderly man at that time. And he was so surprised by this news that his hand started shaking and he cut the customer's right ear a little bit by mistake. The customer shouted out in pain, obviously because of the cut, but also because he was upset by the news he had just heard. With one side of his neck still unshaven, he sped across the road to the general merchant store where there was a telephone. He dialed Seth Govindram's number. So now it's quite likely that this customer in the barber shop also had some savings in the bank, which is why he reacted that way. Only half of his face and neck had been shaven, and he left the shop like that, probably with shaving foam still on the other half of his face. He ran across the road to the general merchant store or the kirana store to use the telephone. So this was a time when there were no cell phones and even landline telephones were not common. A few people in the whole town had them and people had to go there to use them. So he immediately went and he dialed the number of Seth Govindram, the bank owner. The Seth was not at home. Where was he then? The Seth was holidaying in Kashmir. Oh, was that so? The elderly gentleman did not believe it. He hurried back to the barber shop and told Deep Chand. The bird has flown. Said Govind Ram has left town. Definitely it means a collapse. And then he dashed out of the shop, making a beeline for his office and checkbook. So when he called Seth Govindram's number, somebody answered the phone in the Seth's home and informed the elderly man that the Seth was not at home and he was in fact on holiday in Kashmir. This startled him and he ran back to the barber shop and told him that the bird had flown, meaning that Seth Govindram had escaped. He interpreted this to mean that the bank was definitely about to collapse. He quickly ran to his office to get his checkbook so that he could go to the bank and withdraw all his money from his account. Here we see how this misinformation is spreading rapidly. Mrs. Srivastav had lit a small spark. Mrs. Bhushan had fanned it into a small flame and now it was growing larger and larger. Seth Govind Ram has just gone on a normal vacation with his family. But since it coincides with the time that this rumor started, it is now being assumed that he has run away from People Nagar because his bank is collapsing and he doesn't want to face the consequences. The news spread to the bazaar with the rapidity of a forest fire. From the general merchants, it traveled to the shop, circulated amongst the customers, and then spread with them in various directions to the betel seller, the tailor, the free vendor, the jeweler, the beggar sitting on the pavement. So when a forest catches fire, it spreads very fast and is very difficult to control. The news was spreading through People Nagar in the same way. The owner of the general store had overheard the telephone call and then discussed it with his customers. From there, the customers who went in different directions of the market told the pan seller, the tailor, the hawker, meaning a seller of fruits, vegetables, or snacks who travels with his cart from house to house, told the jeweler, and even the beggar who was sitting on the pavement. Old Ganpat the beggar had a crooked leg. He had been squatting on the pavement for years, calling for alms. In the evening, someone would come with a barrow and take him away. He had never been known to walk. So the beggar was named Ganpat and he had been sitting at the same spot on the pavement for years asking for money from passers by. Since he had a crooked leg, he used to sit there the whole day and in the evening somebody would come with a barrow and take him away. Nobody had ever seen Ganpat walking. But now, on learning that the bank was about to collapse, Ganpat astonished everyone, leaping to his feet and actually running at top speed in the direction of the bank. It soon became known that he had had 1,000 rupees in savings. So, however, now to everybody's shock and surprise, when Ganpat the beggar heard that the bank was about to go out of business, he jumped to his feet and ran at full speed in the direction of the bank. The townspeople soon learned that Ganpat the beggar had 1,000 rupees in savings in the bank. 1,000 doesn't seem like a lot today, but at that time it was a lot of money. Men stood in groups at street corners discussing the situation. People Nagar seldom had a crisis, seldom or never had floods, earthquakes, or drought, and the imminent crash of the People Nagar bank set everyone talking and speculating and rushing about in a frenzy. So now there were crowds of men standing at street corners and talking about what was going on. There was nothing big that ever happened in People Nagar, such as floods, earthquakes, or drought. So, this caused a lot of excitement and discussion, and people were moving from one place to another in a great rush. Some boasted of their far-sightedness, congratulating themselves on having already taken out their money or on never having put any in. Others speculated on the reasons for the crash, putting it all down to excesses indulged in by Seth Govind Ram. Some people were feeling very proud of themselves that they had already withdrawn all their money before this problem began. Others were happy because they had never opened an account in the bank in the first place. Still others were wondering about what could have caused the bank to collapse and were convinced that it was all due to the extravagant lifestyle of the owner, Seth Govindram. The Seth had fled the state, said one. He had fled the country, said another. He was hiding in People Nagar, said a third. He had hanged himself from the tamarind tree, said a fourth, and had been found that morning by the sweeper boy. Now you can see all the crazy rumors. One person said that the Seth had left the state. Another said that he had left the country. A third person said that he was hiding in People Nagar itself. A fourth person goes to the extent of saying that the Seth had hanged himself from the tamarind tree. The very same tamarind tree at the end of the bazaar where Mrs. Bhushan and Mrs. Srivastav had sat that morning and had a discussion, and that the sweeper boy Nathu had found him there this morning. We already know that the Seth was in Kashmir, but these people had disregarded that fact. We also know that the two ladies were sitting under the tree the same morning, and there was no indication of anyone hanging themselves from there. Can you see how a misunderstanding was created? A person's words were taken, they were twisted and turned into something completely different. And now it had come to this point where the truth no longer mattered. People were letting their imaginations run wild and were making up unbelievable stories. By noon, the small bank had gone through all its ready cash, and the harassed manager was in a dilemma. Emergency funds could only be obtained from another bank some 30 miles distant, and he wasn't sure he could persuade the crowd to wait until then. And there was no way of contacting Seth Govindram on his houseboat in Kashmir. So by that afternoon, the people had withdrawn all the cash available with the bank. The manager was flustered and he was finding it very difficult to deal with the situation. He could arrange for emergency funds from another bank, but that was 30 miles away and would take some time. He was not sure that these people would be willing to wait till then. And there was also no way of contacting Seth Govindram on his houseboat in Kashmir. People were turned back from the counters and told to return the following day. They did not like the sound of that. So now the poor manager, he had no other choice but to turn people away from the cashier counter and tell them to return the next day, but this was not acceptable to them. And so they gathered outside on the steps of the bank shouting, "Give us our money or we'll break in," and "Fetch the Seth, we know he's hiding in a safe deposit locker." Mischief makers who didn't have a paisa in the bank joined the crowd and aggravated their mood. The manager stood at the door and tried to placate them. He declared that the bank had plenty of money but no immediate means of collecting it. He urged them to go home and come back the next day. So now here we see all the people gathered outside on the steps of the bank, and they have started shouting and demanding their money or else they would break into the bank. Others demanded that the employee should bring their Seth out because they were convinced that he is hiding in a safe deposit locker. Considering that these people who had money in the bank, their agitation was understandable to some extent. But some people were just mischief makers. They did not have any account in the bank. They were just troublemakers who had come to add to the chaos. The manager stood at the door of the bank and was trying to calm everybody down. He told them that the bank had plenty of money, so they did not need to panic, but he could not collect it from the other bank immediately, so he requested them to go home and return the next day. "We want it now," chanted some of the crowd. "Now, now, now." And a brick hurtled through the air and crashed through the plate glass window of the People Nagar Bank. Nathu arrived the next morning to sweep the steps of the bank. He saw the refuse and the broken glass and the stones cluttering the steps. Raising his hands in a gesture of horror and disgust, he cried, "Hooligans! Sons of donkeys! As though it isn't bad enough to be paid late, it seems my work has also to be increased." So when the manager was trying to pacify those people, they didn't want to listen to anything. They started screaming that they wanted their money back immediately. Then someone picked up a brick and threw it through the glass window of the bank. Now we cut to the next morning when Nathu arrives to sweep the steps and he sees dust, broken glass, stones, and all kind of debris littering the steps. This annoyed him because he would have to clean it. He calls whoever did this hooligans and sons of donkeys because it was bad enough that he was being paid late, but now his work also had been increased. He smote the steps with his broom, scattering the refuse. "Good morning, Nathu." said the washerman's boy, getting down from his bicycle. Are you ready to take up a new job from the first of next month? You'll have to, I suppose, now that the bank is going out of business. How's that? Said Nathu. Haven't you heard? Well, you'd better wait here until half the population of People Nagar arrives to claim their money. So Nathu had come. He was hitting the steps with his broom and scattering all the rubbish around. Just then his friend, the washerman's son, arrived at that moment. He greeted him and asked him whether he was ready to start his new job from the first of next month. Then he added that Nathu would have to since the bank was going out of business and he had no other choice. Nathu asks, what do you mean? Sitaram realizes that Nathu hasn't heard about what had happened and tells him to just wait there because half of the townspeople of Peoplenagar would be coming to take their money from the bank. And he waved cheerfully as he did not have a bank account and sped away on his cycle. Nathu went back to sweeping the steps, muttering to himself. When he had finished his work, he sat down on the highest step to await the arrival of the manager. He was determined to get his pay. Who would have thought the bank would collapse? He said to himself and looked thoughtfully into the distance. I wonder how it could have happened. So we see in this paragraph the washerman's son was in a good mood because he did not have a bank account, so he waved cheerfully and rode away on his bicycle. Nathu continued sweeping the steps, grumbling to himself. When he had finished, he sat down on the stairs and waited for the manager to arrive. He was determined that he would get his salary today. While he was waiting, he became thoughtful. He was surprised to know that the bank was going out of business and wondered how it could have happened. So, that was the complete explanation of the story. This is the beauty of Ruskin Bond's writing. He writes in simple language about ordinary people, making it very relatable and easy to understand. And there was a twist that nobody really expected. Even though the title is The Boy Who Broke the Bank, tell me, do you honestly think he was to blame or was he completely innocent? Now let's look at some of the themes of the story to discover the answer. The first theme is that rumors can be very dangerous. A rumor is information that is spread without any proof of its truth. In the story, Nathu tells Sitaram about not getting paid his salary. He in turn mentions it to Mrs. Srivastav to try to help Nathu to get a job. His intentions were good, but the consequences were bad. Mrs. Srivastav misinterprets the reason why Nathu has not been paid and tells her friend Mrs. Bhushan that the bank has no money to pay its employees. This lady then goes and tells her husband that the bank is about to go bankrupt, and from there the news spreads through all of People Nagar that the bank has no money and that the owner has absconded, and everyone panics. So we can pinpoint where it started. It was Mrs. Srivastav. But we need to note one thing here. Nobody is a villain in this story because nobody has done anything with ill will or malice. It just became a game of Chinese whispers, which led to a very bad outcome. The second theme is appearances versus reality. The people of People Nagar immediately believed the rumor about the bank and its owner. But the truth was that the bank was doing fine and its owner was just on vacation. Also, Ganpat, the beggar who people thought was disabled, used to sit on the pavement and beg for money. But the moment he heard that the bank was bankrupt, he was suddenly able to use his legs and run to the bank. All those years, he had just been lying and taking advantage of people's kindness. The third theme is exploitation of the poor. Nathu, the sweeper boy, had been promised a raise of 2 rupees a month, but he had not received it. Apart from that, it was the 20th of the month and he hadn't even received his regular salary, due to which he and his family would definitely have been facing some financial difficulties. See, employers are always quick to cut salaries or to cancel leaves in case employees commit an error, but they are not accountable when they delay salaries that employees depend on. And the poorest people in society always suffer the most because of this. The next theme is crowd mentality and mass panic. We notice here an example of crowd mentality, which means how people in a group stop thinking for themselves and simply follow what everyone else is doing. In People Nagar, once the rumor spreads, nobody tries to check whether it's true or false. They just panic because they see others panicking and they all run to the bank. Even mischief makers who have no money in the bank grab this chance to create trouble and destroy bank property. This shows how fear spreads very quickly in a crowd and how easily people can lose their ability to think calmly and sensibly. The last theme is human greed and self interest. When people sense that there is a problem and they might lose their money, they all become greedy and selfish. They don't care about helping anyone else, just about getting their money back. The secret of Ganpat, the greedy beggar, is also exposed that he has been fooling the townspeople all these years. This shows how, in times of panic, people often forget kindness and honesty and they only focus on their own benefit. They even defame the owner, Seth Govind Ram, accusing him of being a cheat and a fraud with zero proof of any wrongdoing on his part. And with that, we come to the end of this video. If you liked it, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out the other videos in the playlist. And I'll see you in the next video.